More particularly, there's skills that will allow him to use the Forge Wave ability that comes from his shield to explode on enemies. You have something that allows him to taunt, which really helps if you're actually playing with friends, and we do encourage that. You can also throw the shield. For those of you who are familiar with the pre-sequel, that might feel a little familiar to you. There's also the option to use a spear instead of his whip, which when you throw it, it bursts into shock damage.
Amon's Scourge
Oh,
action skill sees him take out a gigantic shield to absorb lots of damage, which will then actually transform into a elemental whip where he can take that energy and toss it back at his enemies. The Forge skill that is associated with Scourge is actually called Firewall, which, as the name might imply, makes a giant wall of fire that will deal damage to enemies who pass through it, block projectiles that are coming in, and buff your projectiles going out.
What makes this one particularly badass is the sensation of becoming a tank. You get to whip out a shield and also a literal whip. So you get to sit there and just soak up damage either for yourself to give yourself some breathing room, or when you're playing with friends, get in the mix and drag the attention to yourself.
Dude, he's so cool.
Amon's Calamity Tree is all about bringing the fight to enemies. Empower your fist in so many different ways that I think players are really going to enjoy. The main mechanic is to actually cause weakness to your enemies, which makes them deal significantly less damage and take a little bit more damage. And there's specific ways in that tree to make those that you have inflicted weakness upon explode, and it's pretty nice.
For Amon's Calamity
Sounds
Tree,
pretty nice.
one of the options for this allows you to really up your durability. This particular augment will allow you to buff yourself back up in order to stay in the fight a lot longer. You have the option for the Rocket Punch to change its elements to suit your particular needs. You even have the option to allow the punch to have its own follow-ups in order to actually execute enemies that are below a certain health threshold, which I'm personally always a fan of those kind of things. And it also has the option to prime enemies, which is a thing that's unique to Amon, which allows him to detonate enemies under specific conditions.
Amon's skill Onslaughter gives him an empowered fist to punch his enemies and dash across the battlefield. You can use it over and over, and you can use it while you're mixing it up with your guns to get into close range with like a shotgun, so you can do a 1-2 punch. The associated Forge skill with Onslaughter is called Molten Slam, where you see Amon take out a gigantic hammer and just slam it to the ground, causing pretty much elemental devastation all around it.
This one is particularly badass because you get this nice, big, meaty, like fire hammer.
I love a meaty hammer.
That wind up and that big explosion that happens afterwards once you slam it down is a really satisfying feeling. But also you do get a cool rocket punch as well. Like you do get a couple little things in there, so that's always fun too.
I call an iron answers.
Dude, Amon,